I want to call them old. They're just people that are experienced, and that experience has led them to a good life, and now they might want to be more leisure with their time. And hopefully, God bless, we all get there as well. But essentially what's happening is, let's understand the statistics of business. Small business, and that's characterized by a business that is not a Google, not an Amazon. Small business accounts for, I would say, around 80%, 60 to 80% of employment at any given time in the United States. So these small businesses are all around us. Think like 200,000 a year to maybe like $10 million a year. And so the owners of those businesses also, from a statistical standpoint, the largest population that exists right now is the baby boomers. And so what's happening is they are at retirement age, just like we will all be. And so they want to retire. So I literally had a client last week, and I said, hey, there's a train. Think about this visual. There's a train coming down the track. That train is time. What are you going to do? Well, you can either just one day you go to turn the key and it's like, hey, fun's over, business is closed. You can try to pass that business down. But if you notice, a lot of third generation, second generation companies never succeed because the kids just aren't into them. That's just kind of one of the things that happens. And if anybody's in here with children, you'll see that your children, they are you, but they aren't you in the same breath, where they have different interests and they want to do different things. So just because, and I use the plumber for instance, but to them, that's not that sexy. They're like, I don't want to go be a plumber. I want to go be an artist. So the second option is they could succeed the business down, have a succession plan, but they don't have that. And the third is they could sell it. But most of them aren't really in the position to sell. And even if they did want to sell, it's not like there is a Zillow, back to real estate, there's not a Zillow for businesses. There are different brokers that exist, but there's just not a mainstream website like www.iwannagobuybusiness.com kind of thing. And so there's just a very unique opportunity. The baby boomers make up the largest population. We're coming up after them. So they are looking for, back to Jessica's point, this is a need. People, that train is coming down the track, whether they like it or not. They need to do something. And so if we're knowledgeable, and let's talk about expertise. Yeah, you did mention being a plumber, but you can own any business, as long as, even businesses that require licenses. If you're an independent person and you always wanted to be a doctor, you can own a doctor's office as long as there is a board certified MD that works there. You can have a barbershop. You don't have to be a licensed barber. You can own anything you want. That's why I love America. You can own anything you want in this country. All you have to do is figure out what passions you have, whether that vision aligns to you personally, and you can buy that business. Now, what I suggest is, the first thing is, given the fact that you're already an entrepreneur, my suggestion to you is to find a business that is a complement to your business. And by complement, let me be specific. Let's just say you make pencils. It might be interesting for you to go find a business that makes erasers, that makes lead, that carves wood. And then you have what we call in business, control the vertical of your business, and that increases your market share and that increases your cash flow. So that's kind of like, back to the vision piece of it. That's the ideology of how you're looking of, how can I take my business to the next level, my life to the next level, is by me acquiring these assets. And by assets, I mean the technical definition of anything that you buy that is valuable and brings value. That is an asset. So it's a very exciting time, because these deals are just happening every day, just like real estate. And if anybody has real estate backgrounds, a lot of these deals have real estate attached to them. So again, we're here to walk you through this process. Let me know if you want me to dive deeper on anything, but that is the concept that I want you to get around.
When
yes,
you mentioned pay, and I'm sorry, I think it's a little lag, so I apologize. But one of the things, Peyton, when you mentioned about, hey, it was a little lag, but I was trying to come back in, and even when you talked about the asset class, I always break it down into 5 asset classes, and do you know what they are, or what do you define the 5 different asset classes?
Let me see. There's paper, stocks, bonds, real estate, and then there's, with the 5th be businesses, equity.
What do you define as paper?
Paper is money. You can buy money, or you can buy paper. like deal
So
work, like like being coming from wholesaling, you know what I
Bonds,
mean?
stocks,
The actual
that's all
contract, that's
paper.
paper. Huh?
yeah, so
See
I
how
break
we cross the gamut? It's depending on
exactly.
what you do, that
Yeah,
answer is
yeah, yeah.
different. What are your 5 asset classes?
Yeah, what are
So
yours, Jesse?
and I would love to hear Alfredo's as well. But I classify it as real estate. So like you said, that those are like commercial or anything like that, single family, all that real estate. Then we got stocks and bonds. That's where I include where you can buy into businesses, NASDAQ and all of those things. And then art that appreciates, digital art assets as well. That's where you hear a lot of these people selling their masters. That's where they have the art asset. And then you got jewelry, minerals, and resources. So like oil, diamonds, precious metals, those sorts of things. And the fifth thing that I added was insurance. So it's definitely those the 5 asset classes that I look at. But it's interesting, the fiat currency, I would look at that as stocks and bonds. But I'd be interested to hear what
Nah. So the way I look at it is, so minerals is more of a commodity. They're not necessarily an asset, because an asset by definition is something that brings in revenue, or something that generates revenue. Now you can sell it for later, but in the meantime, you just own it. So it would be real estate, equities. It's close, whatever works. and then insurance is a good one. I'm glad you brought that up. But the interesting thing is, I would say, is that there's a business attached to each of the things you just named. And so,
and that's
figuring out what avenue you want to go down. Was that what you was getting to?
Yep. That's exactly the point. That's why I just wanted to, because it's like when you think about the business vertical within those 5 asset classes, and you align your passion, and like you said, it already is a complementarity to what they're already doing. That's how you dominate. That's what I wanted to point out.
Good. Jessica, you got all the gems.
Hey, that's what it's about, a discussion to bring this all. Alfredo, how do you define, what are your 5 asset classes? Or
I actually, it's really interesting. I tend to look at, as you're just mentioning, how are people actually utilizing what they have, or where they're at the moment, and finding a better way to do that, right? So any of the big, these unicorns that you look at, and everybody thinks that they're that way because the person was rich, or they had a bunch of investments and they worked with VCs. And the reality is, it was somebody like you and me who said, man, the way this happens it really sucks. I wish it could be like this. And if it was like that, this person would be better off and that person would be better off. And I'd love to do that. And, it's funny because we all say, oh, I had that idea. I mean, we all really did, right? We all have it inside. We all can see, we all can empathize and say, man, if, you can give that person this bit of a twist, or, take this asset and do this with it, it would be great. And it probably could. And that's why it's so important, so interesting. And thank you for inviting me, of that idea from vision to valuation. It's really taking that insight. That insight is where the value is. It's not because somebody owns, anything really. I mean, most great, assets today were built on somebody else's assets yesterday. So it's really about, how do you look at what's out there and leverage it? It's not, God, I wish I had their whatever, because their whatever is just a springboard. It's just, something that lets you see how people are using it today and how you can make it better tomorrow. So,
sacrifice to get that.
Excuse me?
You don't know what they had to do to sacrifice to get that.
Exactly. And one of the exciting things is that, I've gone through the process now multiple times and had, these visions, and I grew up, born and raised in Compton, so I didn't have a lot, but I had a great community, and I was, really taught to dream. And I was just like, the way phones work suck for my community. I wish we had this thing that was where, you know, you can actually own your own applications, because back then you couldn't own your own apps. You would have to buy these cards and do that. And we created the first app store. It's like, yeah, I didn't have anything to do that with. And then we're, my parents and people like my parents. And then we found other communities like in Miami, sending money to Haiti and doing other things. And we're like, man, we should figure out to make a way to make it easier for them to send money to each other. And we did, right? Again, do I own a bank? No. but I had a vision, and, really connecting with the community and understanding who you're trying to help. That's really where value comes in. Everything else is really just being smart about and aligning with people that can help you take those steps that you need to take. But the reality is, nobody really knows what the map is, but we have a pretty good blueprint to help you think through that process and align you with the right people to support you. So super exciting, and absolutely, you all have visions, assets are out there, leverage them.
Donetta, what about you? Speak to do you give us a little bit of background, of your dynamic portfolio, what you've been able to achieve, what you've been able to accomplish, as well as like the role that you play in helping these large deals take place.
So just echoing pretty much everything you guys said. So background wise, I did a lot of municipal advisement. So just by share that we're dealing with public finance, the numbers are large. But at the end of the day, even the governments are made up of people, and those people have talents, and you're supposed to harness those talents to help the good of whatever the stakeholders in that community are, and help the people who are elected to make those decisions, make good financial decisions, right? So that was the job. In doing that, it's hard for you to look at a community and not actually see the people in the community, right? And so just by proxy of trying to help an entity that is made up of people, you end up coming with, like, everybody has a different journey, why they need whatever resource that we're trying, whether it's better water, whether it's better roads, whether they're trying to build a stadium to bring a team. It's all about trying to serve the public as a whole. So at the end of the day, what my vision, in keeping with everybody else, is pretty much, okay, I have to educate or be part of educating a new investor class so that we become bankable, but we don't need a bank. Ultimately, that's my goal, that we are able to finance or capitalize, however that happens, whether we're, to your point, coming into a failing business and turning it around by bringing more revenue or contracts or assets to that business, or using this. Sometimes it's almost a I don't want to get too technical, but almost like a tax play to buy an underperforming asset that happens to be a business for that tax year and then blow it up the next year. So there are several I won't say tricks, but learned skills.
Got it. Okay.
That come along with what it is that we want to introduce people to as a whole. And what is kind of unique about it is that we are, everybody here, we understand that we are going toward a fintech, and how can we take these different types of businesses that are just the everyday and to pay unsexy businesses, but they're really the things that build our houses, make our life work, the services that we need anyway, no matter what. How do we capitalize on the people that are aging out of those businesses and not let that wealth go away. And it has nothing to do with the businesses have no race, no color, no gender. We're just wanting to buy assets in that way and not have to start from the beginning, right? That's the main thing. Not having to start at 0. We can start at 10 or 12 to get to 20. There's no reason why. And I'm just here to help provide mezzanine, the bridge that you might need to get into these businesses, strategies to get into these businesses, not needing a whole lot of liquid capital to get in, because a lot of times that's not always the thing. It's not always, I need money. That's not always there. There's a lot of structures that we don't even have to put any money in. So this is what this is. This is a think tank of people that have resources and experiences and that are going to give it to you real and straight. Like, if you're not ready, none of us as entrepreneurs want to spend time there or trying to take you to somewhere where you're not going to be ready for the experience and we don't have the success. The point of this is for you to analyze where you are and answer those questions with Alfredo, which this is his segue, so get ready. I'm passing the baton, so to speak, but so that you self-assess, and then once you are ready and your mind is ready and you understand where you are, and it's not just the vision. There's okay, I've taken this assessment, I understand where I am, and this is where I'm going. We make sure that you don't have to bump your head or fall off or drop down to the valley only to have to, pull yourself back up. That's what we're kind of here to do.